and we are talking tonight's Game 3 in Milwaukee. Hey, it's been total domination thus far from Kevin Durant and the Nets. They've done it without James Harden. Will have to do so again tonight. Team already announced Harden will not play, still nursing that hamstring. For Giannis, it appears to be now or never. He's part of this group of two-time MVPs without a title, along with Steve Nash and Karl Malone. So, Broussard, what's on the line for Giannis in tonight's Game 3?
Jenna, pride and reputation. Pride and reputation. There's no shame in losing to a better team. And at this point, even Nick understands the Brooklyn's just a better team. All right, even without James Harden, they've still got two of the three best players on the floor. And the gap between the third best player, Kyrie Irving, and the fourth, Drew Holiday or Chris Middleton, whichever one you want to pick, is huge. All right, so he's up against a better team. No shame in losing that. Entering these playoffs, I said, look, there's pressure on Giannis. He's definitely got to get them past Miami in the first round. But if they lose to Brooklyn, it's understandable. We see what Brooklyn is. But he's got to go down swinging. All right, other great players have Michael Jordan, LeBron James, many other greats have lost playoff series to better teams. But they balled out in losing. And when you look at Giannis, the fact is the past two playoffs, he has not balled out. He's gone out with a whimper. All right, last year, of course, Miami, he averaged 21 points a game. The one game that the Bucks won, he only played 11 minutes. So they actually played better without him in that series. And then 2 years ago, of course, they lose 4 straight to Toronto while he's shooting 43% and averaging 20 points a game in those 4 games. So Giannis has to ball out. If they lose, they lose. But he's got to make Brooklyn feel him and understand they're playing one of the best players in the world. And I say pride and recognition because we know what Giannis is at this point in his career. We know he's a tremendously talented, versatile 7-footer who can't shoot on the perimeter and is not a full-time post player. All right, so that type of player, he's only going to go so far now, we know, in the playoffs until he gets a superstar wingman. He needs a Kyrie Irving, a Dame Lillard to play next to him to do the things he can't do. No shame, because a lot of great 7-footers have been like that. Shaq never won it without Kobe or D-Wade. Kareem never won it without Oscar Robertson or Magic Johnson. And they didn't shoot on the perimeter, so they needed somebody to get them to rock. Giannis is not a post player like those guys, but he can't shoot. So he's limited in how far he can carry a team.
Chris, you know how much I love Giannis. I think that's letting him off the hook a bit. Remember, before the playoffs, we did the list of who has the most to gain by winning a championship, and I ranked Giannis #1, and I don't know if you had him #1, but you didn't think it was a crazy ranking. And you said, I don't know if it was on or off the air, but you said, oh, I mean, if Giannis and the Bucks go through Miami, then Brooklyn, then Philly, and then we both thought the Lakers, but whomever comes out of the West, you start talking about him as, oh, what does he need to do to be in the discussion of a Mount Rushmore type of player? What does he have to do to be in the discussion of one of the 10 greatest players ever at the end of his career? Because he would have already had the MVPs, the Defensive Player of the Year, and then a title without the super-duper co-star. And so I'm not saying the expectation was that, but if that's what he had to gain from a long, great run, what he has to lose from if they get swept by the Nets or go down 0-3 to the Nets, which means the series is over, is massive. Right. When we talk about the best players in basketball, the hardest one, and Brandon, this isn't a shot at your Nets, just follow me on this, the hardest guy up to this point to evaluate has been Harden. Because Harden was this quadruple plus regular season player who it seemed like almost every year the postseason ended with like a 2 for 12, 9 turnover game, or with him going, 7 for 19 and not getting to the free throw line. And so when you talk about the guys who are going to be there, it's LeBron, it's KD, it's Kawhi, it's Steph, it's Embiid. At this point, I give the credit. It's Jokic, it's Dame, it's Luka. Right. Those are your 8 guys that are going to translate regular season to postseason. Giannis is the opposite of that right now. And if there is no excuse tonight, Brandon, like Kawhi's on him, Bam's on him. It's Blake Griffin on him. So even if the Bucks lose, Giannis has to enforce his will on this basketball game, or else what he does in the regular seasons for the remainder of his career are going to feel somewhat meaningless.
But he can do that. We saw him go for 40-something points against Miami in the first round. I think what's on the line here is the perception of who Giannis is. And Chris, you said at this point we kind of know who he is. I don't know if everybody's willing to accept that. But the perception is that this guy can lead you to a title as is. And he can't. He absolutely can't get it done. Right. Look, here's the deal. You said something interesting yesterday, and then you just touched on it today. Giannis needs to put his back to the basket. He needs to get in the post. If you go back and watch game 1, he was unstoppable. So, Nick, when you're talking about imposing your will, go back to game 1. When he caught the ball in the post, he scored at will. They couldn't do nothing with him. But the reality is he needs to develop a shot, or, hell, don't develop a shot. Just develop the game in the post and get that wingman that you said, hell, maybe even a Steph Curry. Steph Curry could possibly be out there. I don't know if they probably can't get it done. They just doubled down on Drew Holiday and a couple others. But at the end of the day, the perception is on the line right now. They're not the better team. We saw that. They can't match up against the Nets, especially with the Nets playing this type of defense, Wilds.
Okay. I'm going to take a breath from everybody. This team has played 5 times matchup in playoffs and regular season. The home team has never lost. Giannis in the regular season was averaging Wilt Chamberlain-esque, like 40 points a game. What has happened in these last 2 games is not a referendum on Giannis, even though he scored in the teens last game. It's a referendum on a cold shooting streak that from Chris Middleton and everybody else on the 3-point line. So they shot in like 26%. At home, they shoot 39% from 3. Once they get some of home cooking, the good kind, I think they'll be totally fine. And we'll be like, look at Giannis defending home court, just like we thought we were. Broussard, you've been around long enough that you know the playoff series doesn't start until someone steals a home game or steals home court advantage, except this one all of a sudden. Because I think the blowout is sort of like clouding people's sort of historical perspective. It's fine. You lost 2 games on the road. You're supposed to go home and win. If he lays an egg here, which I don't expect him to, sure. But I think like sort of writing Giannis's like superstar eulogy is far premature since they just lost 2 games on the road. It's not a big deal.
Well, first of all, I love that saying, a series doesn't start until a team loses at home. What if a team never loses at home? I mean, you could literally have a 7-game series. 7. Neither team lost.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That series that never made sense to me. All right, you could. So a series never started and it ended 4-3. But anyway, I'm with you, Wilds, in that Giannis is going to be a superstar. I don't care what he does in these few games that they got remaining. He's not going to fall from being a superstar. He'll still be a superstar, but he can't shoot. And here's the thing. You mentioned the 40-point average or against the Nets and all that when they beat him late in the season. What did he do in those games? He hit the jumper. The Nets put DeAndre Jordan on him, had DeAndre stay in the paint and dared him to shoot, and he hit the jump. I think one game he hit 4 threes, which is huge for him. So, yeah, he can get hot for a game, for a couple of games, and if he does that, they got a great chance to win. But he won't do it for a whole series. He won't do it for a whole postseason where the jumper is falling, and teams are just going to, man, I give him from 15 feet out. He can shoot as much as he wants. And I'm banking on him not hitting those shots.
And Wilds, I don't think this series is over. I'm not writing the Bucks obituary. I'm talking about if Giannis plays poorly today, because they're not playing DeAndre Jordan. The Nets don't have the personnel to build a wall. I know Blake's been a great story, but Blake Griffin should not be able to slow him down. Giannis needs to tell Bud, I'm playing 22 minutes in the first half and 22 minutes in the second half. Don't take me out more than that. Thanasis will have my water ready for me. And every time Blake Griffin is on me, I'm going to the rim. And if that means I got to shoot 20 free throws, then I got to shoot 20 free throws. But if we're going to go down, we're going down through me. Yes, Middleton. Yes, Holiday. Yes, Bryn Forbes.